Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. As the number of reported coronavirus cases surpasses 750,000, we take a look at how something as simple as staying at home can be helpful in reducing the number of deaths.
Asking people to stay at home and shutting down population movement is buying time and reducing the pressure on health systems.
Health officials and governments continue to urge people to stay at home as countries continue to promote self-isolation to reduce the spread of infection. In this programme, we'll be heading over to Singapore, a country that was quick to act and currently has only 3 reported deaths. We'll be speaking to Mubarak Ahmed in Singapore, and we'll be joined by an assistant professor of microbiology, Dr. Nair, who'll be answering your questions on coronavirus. You can send us these questions via email to live@mta.tv or reach out to us on Instagram and Twitter. Remember to use the hashtag Covid-19, the impact when sending your questions. You'll see our contact details on your screens throughout this programme. But first, what exactly is social distancing and isolation? Let's take a look.
If you are not already self-isolating or considering it, there is a high chance you will be in the coming months. Major city streets around the world lie empty as governments and leaders constantly implore people to stay at home.
That people must stay at home.
Stay at home. It will break the chain of transmission and it will save lives.
In the UK, this means that if you or a family member living in the same household show any flu-like symptoms such as high fever or a persistent cough, you're meant to stay at home and away from everyone for 14 days. You only leave the house for exercise for an hour a day while adhering to social distancing measures, and ask friends and family to deliver groceries and medicines to you. You don't invite anyone over, and you should try and work from home. And if your symptoms get worse, you should be getting in touch with the National Health Service via phone. Understanding these new concepts of lockdown and social distancing can be confusing at first, but this is exactly what's needed to beat the spread of the virus.
If we can keep deaths below 20,000, we will have done very well in this epidemic. If we do reduce the deaths to a level which is below what we initially thought, I want to be absolutely clear, that won't be because we are somehow lucky. It will be because every citizen in this country, the British public, have complied with the instructions that the government has given based on the best scientific evidence to reduce the transmission of the disease. We can beat this virus, we can reduce the number of deaths, but only if we reduce the spread and the transmission.
If on an average day you go about your daily business, you may have close to a few hundred interactions with members of the public, work colleagues and infection-ridden services as you travel to work, use public transport and go shopping. That's hundreds of instances where you can pick up or even transfer the virus to someone if you're infected, and that is exactly what has led to the rapid increase of the infection. Staying at home may lead to the risk of losing your job and affecting your livelihood, but it is the only way to save lives and stop the spread of the infection. And remember, if you are over 70 or have pre-existing health conditions that put you at a greater risk, then do not leave your home or come into contact with anyone for 12 weeks. But don't be too hard on yourself. Being locked down at home is not the end of the world. There's a world full of online resources out there to help you keep fit, healthy, and educated during this time.
Now, some people have asked us questions regarding the need for wearing a face mask when leaving the home. If you want to wear a face mask, how should it be worn? Let's have a closer look at these basic principles.
The mask must cover your mouth and nose, and no gaps should remain between your face and the mask. Once the mask is on, you must avoid touching it. If you do touch it, then you should clean your hands with soap and water or an alcohol-based rub. The mask should be replaced as soon as it becomes damp. It is also advised that single-use masks should not be reused, but instead disposed of immediately. How should you dispose of your mask? Well, firstly, never touch the front of the mask. Instead, only touch the straps behind your ears. Once the mask has been taken off, discard it immediately in a closed bin. Finally, clean your hands with alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. This is essential to make sure you have been correctly disinfected.
Our knowledge about the coronavirus is very limited. As time goes on and more research is done, we are finding out more. Recently, there has been a lot more information about the survival of COVID-19 on different surfaces, and this was published in the New England Journal of Medicine. In her paper, Caroline McCammer, a cell biologist who specializes in coronaviruses, explains that there is no evidence that the virus can be transmitted by your pets, but that the virus can survive for 4 hours on coins, 24 hours on cardboard, and 3 days on plastics and on stainless steel. However, she does add a word of caution, explaining that although the virus can last for 72 hours on plastics, less than 0.1% of the virus survives. As such, infection is theoretically possible, but unlikely. Hence, the WHO has advised if you are cleaning a surface or you're worried about its infection, clean it with simple disinfectant. Clean your hands and avoid touching your eyes and mouth. Now, one device you all carry around your homes, schools and offices is your mobile phone. So if you're about to clean anything, it should be your cell phone.
As we take greater care to disinfect surfaces around our houses, have you ever considered cleaning your phone? We touch our phones hundreds of times every day, so here's a quick guide on how your phone can be cleaned properly. Firstly, make sure you don't use household cleaning products, as these could damage the sensitive touchscreen and other parts of your device. Instead, an antibacterial wipe will do just fine. Make sure your phone is off and has been removed from any outer case. With clean hands, wipe down the phone, both on the front and back of the device. Take special care not to get any liquid inside the phone's ports. Leave the phone for around 2 minutes to allow time for the viruses to be killed from the surface, and then wipe down any residue with a microfiber cloth. If you don't have an antibacterial wipe, you can also use hand soap with a little water on a microfiber cloth. Don't forget to also clean your phone's case, both inside and out. Now you have a nice clean phone, but remember, the best way to reduce the risks of contracting COVID-19 is to regularly wash your hands and to avoid touching your face as much as possible.
Let's now speak to Dr. Nair Ahmed, who is an assistant professor of microbiology at the University of Pittsburgh at Greensburg in the United States. Dr. Nair, we are receiving many emails and messages from around the world. Let's first turn to some of the questions we're receiving. How vigilant should we be about cleaning plastic bags or even letters which are coming to our home? And that's a question from Tanveer Ahmed from Germany.
Thank you for having me. Well, I think in addition to social distancing, we also need to distance ourselves from misinformation, which breeds a little bit of paranoia, and I would discourage such kind of obsessive compulsive behavior. Nonetheless, the truth remains that this infection primarily spreads through droplet infection or from person-to-person contact. So again, washing your hands is absolutely critical. You have, don't touch your face, don't, hug people, don't kiss your grandkids. All of those things are more important than focusing on these things. Now, the important thing to remember as far as, plastic bags go, yes, viruses do tend to remain on these surfaces, but there is absolutely zero evidence, and this is coming from the CDC, to suggest that there is any kind of spread of viral infections from males to humans. Thank you.
Jazakallah. We have a question from Lucy Payne in Gloucestershire in the United Kingdom. She explains that she's on immunosuppressants and hence she falls under the extremely vulnerable group. How should she clean fruit and vegetables before consumption? Should she boil them?
Well, first of all, I empathize with this person because obviously she has an underlying condition. But again, let's not move away from the facts. The fact is, and again, this is coming from the CDC. These are guidelines coming from the government, from the World Health Organization, that there is no evidence to suggest that COVID-19 spreads through food or is associated with food. And so I think some practices that we've already had in place, they should be done more vigilantly. Wash your food, okay, before you consume them. Of course, wash your hands before you touch them. those type of things. Now, the second part of the question was whether she should boil it. Yes, absolutely. Boiling food, again, these are guidelines coming from the CDC. Boiling food at high temperature will ensure that all the pathogens have been killed. Now, again, very briefly, if you are washing it with Lysol, if you're washing it with, some kind of a detergent or disinfectant, remember, you are also going to consume some minor amounts of that disinfectant, which can also cause disease. So again, let's not get too compulsive about this and try to remain to the facts. Thank you.
Can I quickly go to our last question, which is it safe to meet cousins or extended family for events like a barbecue?
Social distancing is key, and I think that is the buzzword we need to really go back to and refer back to. And no, it is absolutely not safe to meet family and friends during this time. We need to keep our distance. That 3 to 6 feet rule that we have as far as social distance goes is actually only to be used in urgent purposes. For example, if you're at work, you have to interact with someone, or you're going to a doctor's appointment. So in those cases, yes, you need to maintain that 3 to 6 feet. But inviting people over to have barbecues, that is not a good idea. In fact, I would say that if you truly love your family, if you truly love your grandparents, if you truly love your friends, you will not shake hands with them. You will not hug them. You will not kiss them. Lose that for some time. Stay away from that. Thank you.
Jazakumullah, thank you very much. While many of us see this as a change in lifestyle and a burden, there are many of us who see this as an opportunity to touch base with those at home and care for those in the wider community. Let's see how this is being done in Canada.
For the past 2 weeks, Canadians have been practicing social distancing, many having isolated themselves in their own homes. I was curious to see what my Khuddam brothers were up to and how challenging isolation has been for them.
For a week or more because of COVID-19. That's starting to take a toll. It's understandable. But we can't afford to stop now. I want to be clear. Social distancing, physical distancing, is the single best way to keep the people around you safe.
The reception of this special message from Huzoor Anwar in these difficult times really exemplified to myself what we as Ahmadi Muslims have that many others across the globe yearn for, and that is the love and the care from a true Khilafat which has been appointed by God Almighty Himself.
During this time of the isolation, we find ourselves have a lot of free time. So as a family, we've been reading the books of the Prophet ﷺ together. We've been trying to learn more prayers from the Holy Quran. The girls have been finding interesting ways to stay in touch with their friends. Today they had a tea party with one of their cousins on the phone. Despite not being able to be with one another, they still find a way to incorporate each other in each other's lives.
To connect myself to the Jamaat, we use a Zoom application to have various Atfal classes for our Atfal, and then there's some for Khuddam as well that I attend personally. Inshallah, keeping our connection with God is extremely important during this time, and praying 5 times a day on time at home is also done. So inshallah, this pain, the suffering would alleviate.
Self-isolation, that's not something we were expecting. As this is the first week that we are all under quarantine, our first challenge this week, what we had with all our brothers, is for if you're an intermediate, you need to do 100 push-ups and 100 squats in 3 sets. And if you're a beginner, you need to do 30 push-ups, 30 squats, and a brisk walk. We have many brothers who have accepted this challenge, and many brothers who have shared their videos of them completing their squats, of them completing their walks, of them completing their push-ups, and challenging one another to see who else can compete and accept that challenge.
In true Canadian spirit, let's play some road hockey. All in the comfort of our very own backyard. All mosques and namaz centers are closed until further notice, and all Jamaat members are requested to read their prayers from home. However, all 5 azan are also to be called from Baitul Islam Mosque here in Peace Village, so that all members listening at home can listen to the azan via radio and then begin their namaz in congregation at home.
और हर एक शाम तुम्हारे लिए गवाही दे कि तुमने डरते डरते दिन
Umar goes, oh Zaid, did I just
You read your message. Mama, you like? I did it! Yeah, good job. You win.
Although it's been quite a challenge staying indoors, Ahmadis have displayed resiliency and have made the best of this situation. And as we pray to Allah for safety during these trying times, we're also grateful that we've had the chance to discover so many things that we take for granted.
One of the countries which started the process of social distancing many weeks ago is Singapore. This small country, only spanning about 280 square miles with a population of over 5.8 million, is several weeks ahead of Europe and North America in terms of enforcement of social distancing policies, with restrictive measures being enforced by the government in early February 2020. Let's now speak to Mubarak Ahmed from Jamaat Ahmadiyya Singapore. Assalamu alaikum, Mubarak Saab. What kind of measures has the Singapore government put in place to combat the spread of coronavirus in the community?
Walaikum salam, Kalim Saab. Pleasure to be here. So Singapore government first discovered the case of coronavirus over here in January. And since then, we have implemented several measures to combat the spread that we are seeing in a lot of other countries. So one of those measures which we put in place at a very early stage was social distancing. So in Singapore, we've actually encountered SARS back in 2003. Hence, the systems that have been put in place over here are based on the old model that we had since the outbreak in 2003. Now, there are a lot of things which the government has done as recent as just last week, whereby they've regulated the movement of individuals going into malls, museums, and other attractions. Businesses are still open, so there are a lot of companies that are still operating as per normal. Now, there are a lot of individuals as well who are working from home, like myself. I've been working from home for a good part of close to 2 months now. Gatherings outside of school and work as well, they've limited those to a maximum capacity of 10 people, as well as religious services as well. They have suspended all religious services. So prayers, namaz in mosques, prayers in churches, as well as in Buddhist or Hindu temples over here, they've been suspended. So the government is very much aware of how having a mass group of people together can make the virus spread even faster. So I
understand the Singapore government's been quite strict in terms of fines. Give us an idea of the type of enforcement that's being taking place in Singapore. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So 3 weeks ago, the government imposed a new ruling that if you're caught not observing the social distancing rules, you can be fined 10,000 Singapore dollars, which if I were to convert it into British pounds, that would be about 7,000 pounds. We can see that you're with your family now and you have baby Johan, mashallah, in your lap. How is your family finding this new situation? Well, for me, since I've been working from home for 2 months now, I've actually been able to spend a lot more time with Ilhan. He's only 5 months old now. And you know, my mom works. She's still working right now. Mashallah, she's working in a bank. And in the past, there used to be a lot of customers that would walk into the bank. But now, since the social distancing measures have been put in place, and the fact that there can only be 10 people in an enclosed area, as small as the branch that she's working in. So we've been, ourselves have been looking out for, making sure that when we go out, we wear masks, that we do keep to the guidelines that the government put in place. You have to wash your hands, don't touch your face, your eyes or your mouth. So, just trying to limit the transmission from person to person as best as possible. You've seen videos and VTs about social distancing and also exercise. You must do exercise according to your own age and capacity. Now, with this comes to the end of our broadcast. Please don't forget to send your questions through to us at live on mta.tv and follow us on Instagram and Twitter throughout this period on our exclusive content that we are sending out. With this, we end with a small piece summarizing the situation. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Coronavirus news around today. It's pretty hard to digest it all. This brings home how life is changing and could soon change for all of us.
We've been here before, where amongst all the chaos, we rose up through patience and prayer. We've been here before, where one uniting call brought forth thousands.
दुआओं से अल्लाह ताला के फजल को हम जज़्ब कर सकते हैं और अपनी रूहानी और जिस्मानी हालत को सेहतमंद कर सकते हैं.
Answering with one voice that surely in remembering the one lies comfort.
La ilaha illallah.
Today I will tell you why I believe in God.
And I believe in God because of the Holy Quran.
Through the acceptance of my supplications.
The one who guides me. I have witnessed the existence of my beloved Lord in my everyday life.
Because He listens to the prayers.
When I have seen Him through the acceptance of my prayers.
We are here now, while the world forgets those invisible, saying we see you, we love all and hate none.
We are here to help the less fortunate people living on the street.
And while you, my neighbor, are in need, we shall look after you.
Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Association, they have mobilized to help Canadians. This is during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Let us know anything that you need, whether it's your groceries, your prescription needs to be filled, whether you just need somebody to talk to because you're feeling very lonely. We'll provide any support that we can.
And as the streets are quiet, our homes are filled with righteous song, with laughter and fun. As we're reminded that we must prioritize our physical purity and our health, while we dream of new ways and reinvent the old to nurture our spirit.
That smiling itself is a form of charity, and we have the best example to follow in the Holy Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Our children will remember this time and tell our grandkids of our limitless talents and how we were ready to come together as we held on to our roots, as we held on to that one rope.
مسرور يا بحر الهدى أرض التقى والنور جئناك نبغي بيعة نمضي بها.
We've been here before, and as we are here now, we are not alone. We have that perfect commander ever present to remind us of the next time when we must come together for the sake of everyone. And when that time does come again, through patience and prayer, we'll be ready.